They don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hi guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host.
Hello, JD. It's me, Melissa. I'm super excited today because I got my favorite guy on besides you.
Well,
my
yeah,
second favorite guy.
Second favorite guy. No, I'm super excited too, especially knowing that a lot of our listeners are younger out there and seeing an entrepreneur or somebody who wants to create their own destiny go out and take charge even at a young age. So we got Kobe Xin on the podcast today. He's an EXP real estate agent. He does a lot of digital marketing stuff. He's in the top 3% of EXP agents for frontline agents underneath them. He's also the host of the FLA podcast, and he's in the top 3 highest ranking blogs across all the agents on EXP. So Kobe, man, we're super excited to have you on here. And we can't wait to share your story with some of our listeners.
Oh, no, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me on. I'm super excited. I'm honored to be here, and I could sit here and listen to you kind of introduce me all day long. So just keep doing that.
Tell them all the good things. Okay, well, so I'm sure that some of our audience members are unfamiliar with you, but if you could just give us a brief rundown of, how you got your start and where you're at now, and then we'll just kind of pick you apart from there.
Oh yeah, love it. I love to be picked apart. But yeah, I mean, like, my name's Kobe. You guys know that already, but essentially, so I got started in real estate way back when I was just graduated from high school in, I think, 2019. So I graduated in 2019.
Yeah. Way back. 21 years old, way back. Oh, you mean like 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
Right. Like 3 years ago, right? For me, I mean, 3 years, it actually does feel a little bit shorter than that, to be honest. And just because of the kind of the journey that I've been on. But no, I got into real estate because I just read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it just kind of blew my mind. I was always entrepreneurial, but the term passive income just kind of changed my entire perspective of how life works in general, essentially. So I did pretty good in high school. So I was on my way to go to some college out of state in a different state 2 weeks before I was going to fly out. So the tickets were bought, all the hotel rooms were booked. But 2 weeks before I was going to fly out, I said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to stay home, get my real estate license, see where this takes me. And, parents were supportive, and I never went. So I never went to college. Still to this day, I believe I still have their admissions letter or whatever. And I kind of hang it up like this is like my badge of honor, right? They accepted me and I said no to them, right? Where other kids are like
denied.
Right? Other kids are like, schools that rejected me left and right. But essentially what I did was I wanted to be on the investing side of the business. So a lot of your listeners are investors. They understand equity, passive income, kind of that side of real estate. And that's really the effectively, interesting side about real estate is that you can build passive income, long-term wealth from it. So that's the way I wanted to get into it. But I thought, I didn't know anybody at the time. I had no network. It didn't know anybody in real estate. I didn't even know any agents. Like the agents that I knew were like my friend's parents. Like that's like, just to paint a picture, right? That was where I was. Like everybody on my phone was just like 17, 18-year-olds who I just knew in school, essentially. So I thought getting a license was probably the best way for me to get into the industry and just meet some people that could potentially help me. Maybe a broker who is also an investor, something like that. I just started kind of looking around, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with Bigger Pockets.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I was just on Bigger Pockets all day long at the time while I was getting my license. And the day before I took my test, I went on Bigger Pockets and made a post. It's still there if you guys want to look at it. Essentially, I said, hey, what's the best brokerage for an agent who just kind of wanted to be an investor? And you guys, our mutual friend Charlie Cameron's nice enough to reach out to me. He says, hey, I'm doing something similar to you that you are. And, we got connected. I passed my test, and, long story short, he introduced me to EXP. And that's kind of where the EXP rocket ship kind of took off. Right. So I joined, and, here I am today.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
That is an awesome story. Yeah, my story obviously is very similar. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Bigger Pockets, and then I jumped into investing. So now one of the things that I think is super awesome is maybe if you could like break down the passive income that comes from EXP and how that works, so that our listeners will understand that a little bit, and then we'll talk about some of the ways that you're getting that and building out that funnel.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I always joke this is my favorite topic to ever talk about. But yeah, so the reason I joined EXP and the reason I stayed are two very different reasons. And so I joined EXP because Charlie was the person that sponsored me. He was the person that reached out, brought me to the company, but he introduced me to 3 or 4 different investors, Chris Bounds, Brent Phillips, Connor, who's local to me here in Texas, that I met instantly, and they didn't need to say anything else for me to join. So the moment I met Brant, I said, this is it. I'm not interviewing any other brokerages. You are somebody that I wanted to model my business after. Mm-hmm. And I was in from that day on. And from the EXP brokerage side, it made more sense to me because, as an agent, you're kind of just making commissions off of active income, where at EXP, you can do the exact same thing. So even if I sold the house, I would still get paid, not just in commissions, but also in the equity awards, right? We're a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. So we get equity. Essentially, we're getting paid not just in commissions, but also in assets. So that was a big component for me to join the company, that it made sense that I wasn't just kind of working for cash. I was working for something that could grow beyond me. That's the reason I joined. Now, the reason I stayed is, the revenue share. It's a team building model, right? So I didn't see it as an opportunity when I first joined. I've been approached in the past many times by, Amway, WFG, different kind of network marketing models. And, I saw what they could do with it. It didn't necessarily make sense to me. I don't see the opportunity as big as, some people might describe it. So I kind of just brushed it off to the side and thought, this is a good bonus, but I don't see it being a business, right? Boy, was I wrong. I joined in EXP in January of 2020. So I get to work with an investor for about 2 or 3 months. So I worked one-on-one with Chris as his acquisitions agent up until March. And then the world kind of just shut down. So I was making calls. I was going out to properties, looking at them. And then all of a sudden overnight, I wasn't able to do that anymore. So I just thought, I have a license sitting at home, can't leave the house. What am I going to do? So I accidentally, so I don't know if you guys know this, but I accidentally opened Connor's revenue share training course. So Connor is the person that created it, but I accidentally opened that up, and it just blew my mind what this revenue share model can do. So essentially what I said was, I can build a team without risking money, without needing financing, without, needing hours of essentially going out there and trying to put assets under management. And I can essentially just do it by bringing agents to my real estate team and making the same or even more passive income, now with the additional component of duplication of, a global market share. That's just a game changer. So I started out doing that, built out, one of the top blogs, I guess now in the entire company, and, really out of necessity, because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know agents to recruit. So what did I do? I just, I had to do it online, and it just worked out quite well for me. So now I'm sitting at about just 39 agents, so just shy of 40 total. And we actually have agents in about 10 different states, and one in Mexico, and one actually all the way across the Pacific Ocean over in India as well. So this just kind of explains a little bit about kind of like the market share opportunity that we get to enjoy here at EXP.
Sure. And what I think is cool is that You don't have to be a great real estate agent to do good at EXP. You don't have to be a great recruiter to be good at EXP. You can choose whatever. The reason Melissa went with EXP was because they leave her alone and we could do our investment stuff without having to go in and do office hours and all of that kind of stuff. But we still get all the access to MLS and all of that kind of stuff. And we didn't really look at the possibilities of the rev share stuff either until later on. And now, we can see that that's a hugely beneficial route to go if you're an investor, especially, but even if you're just a regular agent.
And also, it's really like you have your own business. So it's really like I'm my own broker and have my own or our own real estate company, because we can do whatever we want. If we need help, we can get it. But if we don't, and you can just keep going, building your own team.
Yeah. Kobe, I guess what I'm interested now in is marketing. From my perspective, marketing is the same, whether you're looking for distressed houses, whether you're looking for listing leads, whether you're looking for agents to recruit to your team. All of it's the same, and you've kind of mastered the marketing. So can we deep dive into a little bit of what your marketing looks like, and then we can see how it applies to those different strategies?
Right, definitely. So in the beginning, like I said, I did two different strategies essentially. I think our friend Connor talks about all the time. There's a proactive strategy where you're going out there reaching out to people directly, and then there's a reactive strategy where you're putting out content and then people are coming to you. So I did a little bit of both in the beginning, where I would go on bigger pockets, just like how I was found. I would go on there as well. I'll look for other agents who were just getting their license, who were kind of in the similar position that I was, and I just started reaching out to them and then kind of asking them how I could help them pass their test, how I could help them find a brokerage, right? And then so on and so forth. They would end up joining with me at EXP after they've seen what we can offer. That's how I got started. But in the background, what I was working on was, the blog, right? So which is, we call it a blog, but it's just kind of like a website, and we use blogs to rank our pages on Google. So that's, I think, a very untapped market share, which is search engine optimization, SEO marketing. Because people are literally searching for answers online. And if we're able to kind of position ourselves in that first page of Google, if you want to think about it that way, then people are going to click on our link. They're going to go to our website, and then they're going to see that we can solve their problem immediately, essentially. So that's what we did. So we picked certain keywords, certain questions that either a new agent or just some agent will have to, want to ask. So like, for example, like one of our best performing post was, what is the best brokerage for somebody who wants to be an investor agent? So investor agent brokerage would be like the term that people are searching in Google. So if you search that term, right, that's something that I was searching for. I never found any information on it when I was looking for a brokerage. But now that, we kind of like wrote an article about it, if you search those terms, we're going to show up on the first page of Google. You're going to see our post. You're going to come to our website, and then we're going to tell you all about why EXP is essentially great for an investor agent. And, then it leads to a call to action. So I think that's another kind of mistake that a lot of people make, who they're getting out there and they're putting themselves on the internet, but there's no way to convert leads, right? They don't have anything where, you can click on a button and then you can, essentially book right into our calendar or capture an email. They have nothing. They just have a website or, a video, and it does great. It's great content, and it educates people and it solves the problem, but there's no next step. And that's kind of like why we're able to be successful with it, because we made the next step very obvious. So if you go on our website, you're going to get pop-ups, you're going to get buttons. You cannot miss it. Like if you are on our website, we're going to do everything we can possibly do to get you to have a conversation with me about why this is, why this is a good opportunity for you. Now, if you really don't want to do it, you can just click out of it. But I think that the mistake that a lot of people make is they don't even give people who are interested that choice. And we make that choice very obvious. So I think that's the big difference there, is that you're not only trying to get in front of people on the right platforms, but you need to have a way for them to, essentially do what you want them to do, which is, sell you their house, just essentially have a conversation with you, because that's the way to convert anybody. So that's kind of the short version of what I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that say that you can do like the paid SEO marketing. Have you guys tried any of that, or because what the real experts that we've talked to have said is consistency and putting in time. That's the only way to really do it. There's some hacks and some tricks that you can do to get more, or you bump yourself up, but in the long run, it just comes from consistently putting out valuable content and getting people to click on your links.
Right. So like nobody knows how the Google algorithm actually works, right? So like, right. It's magic, right? Nobody actually knows how it works. I'm sure people who work at Google don't even know, because they probably keep it pretty tight to the chest, right? So there's really no way of hacking the algorithm that marketers on the internet are trying to sell you. So we've never paid for anything aside from assistants and softwares. But we just did it all organically, kind of on our own. And I say we, me and Charlie, who's my sponsor, who he helped out a lot on the technical side. So essentially what you want to think about with search engine marketing is, people are looking for specific answers. And if you can answer that question, so there's a term called search intent. So if you're matching that intent, so like if I type in Google the word apples, I'm expecting articles, pictures, and videos of apples. There better not be a video, a picture, or an article about cats, or I'm going to be pretty pissed. So you want to match the search intent. So if somebody's searching for apples, write about apples, right? So if somebody's searching for like how to sell my distressed property, you better write something that's relevant to them. And it can't just be, hey, I tricked you. You searched here, and here's an article about how I can solve your problem. This is the only way. You don't really want to do that, because like I said, I don't know how Google does it, but they pick up on these things. So you want to match a searcher's intent, where essentially if somebody's looking for an answer to their solution, you can provide in your way that answer, whatever that answer might be, or whatever it might be. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's able to answer that question and it's relevant. So that's kind of the way that I approach things. And then another thing you said about consistency, definitely agree. So you definitely need to be consistent, less so than like social media marketing and trying to build a brand. Because I will tell you, like, we've had lulls where we haven't written a blog post in months, but we're still getting leads because one particular post was just doing really well for that specific search term. That's something else we want to think about, is you're putting out content consistently in order to essentially get that win, right? You're flipping a deck of 52 cards for those aces. But not every single post or every single video you make online is going to be an ace. But if you make enough of them, you're going to get enough aces where they're going to be generating a lot of leads to you. So that's why consistency matters, is because you need to kind of go in at it and just do a lot and try different things. And whatever you can essentially get, one or two posts that are performing well, that's going to drive the majority of your traffic, not like all 100 posts essentially. So that's kind of why the way that we approach it, or the way I would think about it.
Awesome. Now, your podcast that you just started, you want to talk about that a little bit and let us know what you're doing on there, what kind of information you're handing out, and what your intention with that is?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are doing podcasts, so you guys get like, it's just a great, very fun way to essentially put out content. So that's kind of the way I approach it as well. Blogging, it's very successful for me in the past, but writing sucks. So for anybody out there that hasn't done it before, just be aware of that. It does work if you do it right, but it sucks. It's horrible. You're sitting there, by yourself, kind of writing. Yeah. Just typing, writing. It's the worst thing ever. So I just thought of a way of how I can continually put out more content without having to write a bunch of stuff. So I think podcasting is the way to want to go. So even before I got into real estate, I wanted to start my own podcast, whether if it's to review some stupid show that I just watched over the weekend, or some movie. I just like this form of content, right? So if you think about it, nobody, like, if you're a really busy person, you're not necessarily sitting down every day trying to watch a bunch of YouTube videos and educate yourself, right? You're plugging yourself into whatever podcast you find from whatever authority figure, whether if it's, an investor like you guys, or, if it's an agent, it could be like Tom Ferry or somebody else. or the Bigger Pockets podcast. And then you're plugging in while you're driving, while you're working out, while you're going to different properties on appointments in between, right? Because people are trying to fit education into that time where they're moving from place to place or doing something else. So I just think there's no more intimate way of providing more content than just being in somebody's ear 24/7. So podcasting is the best way to do it. So my intention with that is to interview a bunch of people who are experts in certain, aspects of the real estate industry and business and entrepreneurship. So it's definitely more than just interviewing a bunch of agents and, asking them how they do their sales or deals or whatever. It's more over encompassing. So I know I have people who are crypto experts, who are mindset experts, right? So I want to make it a little bit more, above and beyond than just real estate. So something I can even carry forward after this, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my intention behind it. And the secret of podcasting is, you can kind of just get a lot of people on there who are experts and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And you provide a great piece of content for this subject, right?
Right.
I mean, not to expose the entire industry here, but I mean, this is what I do. But
you don't have to know anything. You just got to get people that know stuff to come on your show.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way I approach it. I just I pick an expert who's who knows what they're talking about, and I ask them the questions that I want to know. That's how how I would approach it, and I would encourage a lot of people who are listening to start their own podcast. It's not as hard as you guys think it is. If you're listening to this, it's a lot easier than doing a lot of the other stuff, to be honest. And you can create more pieces of content from an hour podcast interview than you can from anything else. You can create it into, so like right now I'm doing like 5 YouTube videos per episode, 7 Instagram reels, and potentially even a blog post. So like we're even tying it back to what I used to do as well. And now I'm at the point where like my podcast episodes are exceeding the amount of content I can even put out on the other platforms. So now like I'm way ahead. So you're always going to be ahead. You can repurpose this content into anything. And if you're just kind of looking at outside of the industry, like some of the most successful people, they're doing it through podcasting, whether if they're like, Joe Rogan, who only does it. He's kind of like the authority figure on all things information now, or, if you're kind of like these other business influencers as well, they've moved, like they don't have like YouTube channels. They have podcasts where they take clips of their podcast and put it onto their YouTube channels, right? PBD and Milet, all these people. It's just a much more efficient way to get in front of people. And it's always better to have a conversation than it is to talk to a camera, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
sure. I agree completely. All right, Kobe. So if you sparked any interest from any of our audience today and they wanted to find out more about you, connect with you, maybe learn something about EXP or the way that you're marketing, where would you send them?
Right. I mean, I would definitely go to my podcast. So it's the Free Life Agents podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google. So most major podcasting platforms. Or you can go to freelifeagents.com and book a private call with me and just talk about anything you want to talk about essentially and see how you can work with me. Or you can go to agentwealthhustle.com, which is my blog where, a lot of the good stuff that we've written about in the past, some information for agents, investors are all in there as well. Or you can connect me on any and all social media platforms. Just send me a message and I'll be happy to share whatever limited wisdom I have as a 21-year-old.
I think there's quite a bit of wisdom
going
there.
On.
Awesome, Kobe. We really appreciate you coming on the show today and
see you in Vegas,
sharing your secrets. Yeah, see you in Vegas,
right.
Bud.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm super honored to be here, and hopefully one day you guys will return the favor and be a guest on my show as well.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.